Sebastian Croft and I were off again for 7 years. I was responsible for the off. He was responsible for the on. But after the last time I suggested breaking up, he didn't try to win me back. Instead, he took up with a lover who looked strikingly like me. To promote her, he stripped away my resources. The Best Actress award I'd pursued for 10 years, he handed it to her effortlessly. At the awards ceremony, a reporter asked if I regretted the breakup. I smiled, lifting my hand to show the diamond ring on my finger. I'm getting married soon. As the words fell, everyone saw the famously aloof and proud Croft heir's eyes instantly redden. Chapter 1. I attended the glamorous fashion gala, dressed to the nines, but arrived alone. Reporters buzzed with curiosity. "Miss Holloway, isn't Mr. Croft accompanying you this time?" Just then, a commotion arose from a distance. Following the sound, I saw Sebastian Croft stepping out of his car, intimately taking the hand of the woman beside him. A collective gasp went through the crowd. It was the first time in 7 years he'd appeared with a different woman. It had always been me by his side. But now, it was Maya Miller, a popular young actress known for her innocent image. Entertainment reporters had once compared my face to hers. They found a certain resemblance. Sebastian arriving with her looked exactly like a story where the stand-in defeats the original and takes her place. Reporters swarmed them. I met Sebastian's gaze. His eyes were filled with cold indifference. I gave a polite nod and turned nonchalantly towards the event hall. On the way, my agent, Linda Lewis, Big L, whispered, "No wonder Maya Miller snatched your fashion endorsement." I was wondering who was backing her. Turns out it was Sebastian Croft. "Did you two have another fight?" I shook my head. "We didn't fight. We broke up." Big L sighed, unsurprised. "Vivienne, darling, the year's only half over, and this is the 3rd time you've mentioned breaking up. Every time, Mr. Croft swallows his pride to coax you back. You should bend a little this time, or that wretched Maya girl might really take your place for good." Yes, probably in everyone's mind, year in and year out, I was the one making a fuss. Sebastian was the one placating me. As for Maya, she was just a pawn in Sebastian's game to spite me. If I just gave in, Sebastian would immediately get back together with me. But I knew. Sebastian wasn't just being spiteful, he was making a statement. He was telling me, if you're not willing, plenty of others are. I clenched my fist. The diamonds sewn onto my skirt pricked my skin, a faint sting that sharpened my senses. "We won't get back together." My voice was firm. "This time, it's really over between him and me." Chapter 2. Sebastian and I dated for 7 years. During that time, we broke up and got back together no less than 20 times. I initiated the breakups. He initiated the reconciliations. He was the Croft heir, surrounded by countless beautiful women, yet he was willing to swallow his pride time and again to make me happy, to win me back. If I merely mentioned missing him, he could fly across the country to hold me in his arms. Many people advised me not to be so melodramatic, not to fight with him over so-called scandals in the gossip columns. They said he clearly adored me, so why damage the relationship with repeated breakups? I understood that, but I couldn't control my emotions, often crying late into the night over it. He would hold me tightly, his deep voice coaxing. "How is that melodramatic? It just means my Vivienne loves me too much, feels too insecure. I'm willing to coax my Vivienne." I looked up at him, my eyes red. "Forever, forever." He didn't hesitate. We were so young then. Love was always scalding hot, passionate. We thought forever was something easily said and easily achieved. But reality proved it was just a thought. Thinking of this brought a faint bitterness to my heart. Just then, Big L asked, "Why did you break up this time?" I paused, blinking slowly. My gaze eventually settled on the couple, standing intimately close in the distance. My voice was soft. "He's getting married. He asked me to be his mistress." Big L froze. Averting my eyes, I drained my glass. No one saw the redness rimming my eyes. I told him I wouldn't. Big L's face paled slightly, and she could only murmur, "Absurd, Chapter 3? Yes, how absurd." But Sebastian didn't see it that way. When he brought it up, there was even a hint of entitlement in his voice. "Vivienne, I've already discussed it with Audrey Dalton. We'll just be husband and wife on the surface. Privately, she won't interfere with me, and I won't interfere with her. We'll do our own things. We can still be together." Audrey Dalton, the heiress to the Dalton Group, and the match chosen by the Croft family for an alliance. I had unintentionally learned from Sebastian's secretary about the possibility of their marriage. I wanted an explanation, expecting him to deny it. I never anticipated such a bombshell. How laughable. The boyfriend I had loved for 7 years was getting married, and he wanted me to be his mistress. I stared at the man before me. My heart stopped without warning, then began to pound violently, the force making my nose sting uncontrollably. For a moment, I didn't know whether to be furious at his insult or devastated by my own heartbreak. But Sebastian just looked at me. His gaze was open and certain, as if he was convinced I would agree. After all, I loved him so much, but all I wanted to ask was, "Sebastian Croft, were you planning on telling me you were getting married at all?" Sebastian frowned slightly, a flicker of confusion in his eyes. "What does getting married matter? It's enough that I love you, Vivienne. This kind of thing is common in our circle. You've seen it before, I had seen it." Of course I had, being with him for 7 years. He took me to all sorts of social gatherings, big and small. I'd seen couples who were loving in front of cameras, but estranged in reality. I'd seen couples in arranged marriages who led separate private lives, but I never imagined Sebastian and I would end up like this. We were so deeply in love. I was certain we would get married, have children, live a long life together, grow old side by side. But I was wrong. Sebastian never intended to marry me. All along, it had been my own wishful thinking. I pulled my hand away from Sebastian's grasp, speaking each word clearly. "But I don't want to be your secret mistress for the rest of my life." Sebastian frowned but still tried to explain patiently, "Vivienne, not a mistress. You are my wife, my woman." "And Audrey Dalton?" He was speechless. He couldn't deny Audrey's status, yet he still didn't understand why her existence bothered me so much. Perhaps he and I were never truly on the same path. I lowered my gaze, hiding my reddened eyes, and said slowly, "Sebastian Croft, I won't be the other woman. Vivienne, don't you want to be with me? We promised forever. You love me so much. I do love you." I looked up at him, my gaze earnest and firm. "But, Sebastian Croft, I won't lose my self-respect just because I love you." Chapter 4. As we spoke, the first snow began to fall. Soon, everything was blanketed in white. "It's snowing." I stood up and walked to the floor-to-ceiling window, speaking softly. "I remember the last time it snowed. You and I were snuggled on the sofa under one blanket, watching that period drama." I recalled the scene where the heroine married the powerful general. Her wedding attire, elaborate and grand, signified marrying into a higher status. I had jokingly asked Sebastian if marrying him would also count as marrying up for me. "You just smiled then." Thinking back now, were you laughing at me inwardly? At my foolish dream of marrying you? What am I anyway? Just some small fry actress. What right do I have to marry the Croft heir? Tears fell as I spoke. I wiped them away, trying to hide the traces of sadness. It was too pathetic. I didn't like seeing myself so pathetic. But the more I wiped, the more tears flowed. My chest ached with a dense, sharp pain. Sebastian spoke, his voice somewhat strained. "I never thought that. Maybe." I moved my lips, a self-deprecating smile touching them. "But, did you ever think about marrying me?" Sebastian froze. He opened his mouth but said nothing. In that instant, I had my answer he hadn't. He had never considered marrying me. I had prepared myself, but knowing the truth still hurt. I blinked, looking at him, my voice filled with bitterness. "Many people say I argue with you, make scenes with you. They don't know why, but you and I both know. It's because I wanted to get married, and you didn't. You said you needed to focus on your career, that you had family matters to resolve first. I understood, so I forgave you time and time again. If you had told me earlier that you wouldn't marry me, why would I have bothered trying to please your parents? Why would I have wasted so many years with you? I was so foolish. People always say love can blind your heart and eyes. I never used to believe it. Now I did. How else could I have been foolish enough to be deceived by a flimsy excuse for 7 years? Foolish enough not to see the true thoughts of the person beside me day and night. Foolish enough to still feel pain for him even after being deceived. "Sebastian Croft, let's break up." I finally said the words, seriously, definitively. In that moment, it felt as if a heavy burden had been lifted from my heart, from my shoulders. Incredibly freeing. But Sebastian just looked at me, his tenderness gone, replaced by a deep, cold stare. He spoke each word clearly and heavily. He said, Vivienne Holloway, you will regret this. I didn't understand the meaning of those words then. But in the days that followed, contracts began to be terminated one after another. My resources, my endorsements companies were willing to pay hefty breach of contract fees just to end their association with me. Then they all signed with Maya Miller. That was when I understood. Sebastian Croft was making a statement. He was showing me through his actions, see, you don't want to be my mistress? Plenty of others do. Chapter 5. The gala reached its peak with the arrival of one person. Lawrence Langley, the internationally renowned director who had recently returned to the country. Big L whispered in my ear, Director Langley is here too. His new film is casting the female lead. Haven't you always admired him? I heard he's always appreciated your work too. You need to fight for this. Okay. Champagne flute in hand, I was about to approach Mr. Langley, but then I saw Sebastian, holding Maya Miller's hand, walk up to the director. Director Langley, this is Miss Maya Miller, whom I recommended. Maya glanced at me, her eyes full of smug triumph. With Sebastian's introduction, Mr. Langley quickly began discussing the film's story with Maya. I pursed my lips, feeling momentarily lost. But determined to try, I walked towards him. Mr. Langley, hello? And this is? Mr. Langley asked, puzzled. Before I could introduce myself, Sebastian suddenly spoke up. She's my former lover. Lover. The word hung in the air, laced with insinuation. My heart skipped a beat. Turning to look at him, I met his challenging gaze. He was doing it on purpose. He knew I rejected that label, yet he deliberately pinned it on me. His gaze shifted away, his smile icy. Her acting is mediocre. 3 words, effortlessly defining my 10 years of hard work. Hearing this, Director Langley didn't spare me another glance. In that moment, I understood the opportunity I had waited years for was gone. A hollowness opened inside me, something vital slipping away, impossible to grasp. I turned and left. But in a backstage corridor, I ran into Sebastian. He leaned against the wall, head tilted, watching me. The colorful lights reflected in his eyes, but held no warmth. He asked me, Vivienne Holloway, do you regret it now? Losing so much after leaving me? Do you regret it? Come back to me, and everything you want will still be yours. I looked up at him. My gaze was clear and gentle, but held no trace of regret. I smiled softly. Sebastian Croft, I never regret my decisions. I didn't want it anymore. It was as simple as that. Chapter 6. Thanks to Sebastian's interference, all my endorsements and projects were canceled, granting me a rare vacation. I had been busy constantly for the 10 years since I entered the industry. Finding myself idle, I wasn't sure what to do. While cleaning my apartment, I unexpectedly found a shirt in the closet. A cufflink was fastened to the sleeve. Black crystal, with the character Seb engraved in the center. I tried to recall when he might have left it here but couldn't remember. I initially wanted to throw it away, but remembering Sebastian mentioning how valuable the cufflinks were, I set it aside. I didn't want to owe him anything more. I notified his secretary to come and pick it up. Over the phone, his secretary said quietly, Miss Holloway, Mr. Croft has been talking about you a lot these past few days. He still loves you. It's just that the Croft family is very insistent on the arranged marriage. That's why Mr. Croft resorted to asking you to be his mistress. It wasn't what he truly wanted. He chose his words carefully, but he couldn't hide the indifference in his tone. In their circle, being a mistress, the other woman, wasn't considered shameful. I murmured and, I understand. Hearing this, his secretary asked cautiously, Miss Holloway, it's good that you understand. When will you be coming back? I can pick you up, I cut him off. I'm not coming back. It's been over between him and me for a long time. I had said it before, I didn't like being pathetic, and I never regretted my choices. As I finished speaking, I heard a loud crash from the other end of the line. Boom! Sebastian's hoarse, deep voice came through the phone. Then get lost, get as far away as possible, so he had been listening nearby all along. Still so childish. Always making his secretary test the waters after he messed up. But this time, I wouldn't soften. Hanging up, I looked at the shirt now stuffed into a trash bag. Suddenly, I wanted to go back to my hometown. I missed my mom and dad. Chapter 7. I should arrive tonight. Settled on the high-speed train, I called my mother. She delightedly called my father over, then told me with a smile, Darling, be careful on the way. Watch your purse. Mom and Dad will be waiting for you at the station entrance." Hearing this, I couldn't help but smile wryly. I was 32 years old, having navigated the entertainment industry for a decade. Yet my mother still reminded me to watch my purse, as if I were still the young girl leaving home for university more than 10 years ago. As soon as I exited the station, I saw my parents eagerly waiting by the entrance. Walking over, Mom immediately took my hand, looking me up and down, while Dad took my suitcase. He glanced behind me, then asked, "Vivienne, why are you back alone? Where's Sebastian?" I froze for a second. Mom nudged Dad, feigning annoyance. "Sebastian must be busy. Your daughter's home, and you're asking about someone else. What kind of father are you?" Right, Dad's wrong." Dad quickly smiled. "Dad will make Vivienne's favorite spicy chicken today to make it up to you." I saw the faint worry in my parents' eyes. I smiled and nodded emphatically. Back home, Dad went to prepare dinner while Mom helped me tidy my room. Tidy, in truth, as my room was always kept clean and neat. When children grow up and leave home, parents often worry about hindering their progress, so they channel their longing and concern into small details. Like repeatedly going into the room their child once lived in. Sitting for a while, looking around. My mom hesitated several times before finally asking, "Vivienne, did you and Sebastian have a fight? Did Sebastian make you angry again?" See, when Big L talked about Sebastian and me, she always said I was making a fuss. But Mom assumed it must be Sebastian's fault. I didn't want her to worry about my relationship, so I simply said, "We broke up." But then Mom came closer, looked at my face, and pulled me into her arms, whispering, "Vivienne must have been wronged, didn't she?" I was stunned. I didn't cry when I found out the lover of 7 years never planned to marry me. I didn't cry when my resources and endorsements were taken away. I didn't cry when pressed about whether I regretted it, because I knew crying was useless. It would only invite ridicule and scorn. But now, leaning into my mother's gentle, soft embrace, the tears I had held back for so long finally escaped. I just feel like, maybe I was wrong from the start. I shouldn't have accepted Sebastian's confession of love, shouldn't have gotten together with him, shouldn't have softened and stayed with him after his endless explanations the first time I suspected he wouldn't marry me. Maybe I really was wrong. But Mom just gently wiped away my tears, saying softly, "Vivienne, it's like how even deities face trials when they descend to the mortal world. Perhaps Sebastian was just a trial of love for you. Our Vivienne spent 7 years overcoming it. Mom should be happy for Vivienne because Mom believes that from now on, everything in Vivienne's life will go smoothly." "Really?" I looked up at her. Mom's reply was unhesitating. "Of course." In that moment, my heart, restless for so long, finally settled, became quiet. "Dad and Mom will always be Vivienne's rock. Go boldly down your path. If you get tired, come back. Mom's arms are always open for you." Lying in bed, Mom tucked me in. As drowsiness crept in, the sunset outside the window cast a gentle glow on her face. I suddenly said, "Mom, I want to see the sunrise tomorrow." Mom tucked a stray strand of hair behind my ear and nodded softly. "Okay, Dad and Mom will go with you." "My Mom and Dad are here. That's good." Chapter 8. When I woke up, Mom and Dad were already dressed and ready. Sunrise Peak, ridge after ridge of mountains. The sun hadn't risen yet, and a light mist hung in the air. Only a few scattered figures dotted the mountain path. Walking through the mountains, every breath was filled with the fresh scent of the forest. It felt like it could wash away the heaviness in my heart. Just then, a surprised voice called out from behind Mr. Holloway. "Mrs. Holloway," turning around. A man in black sportswear jogged towards us. His dark hair was slightly damp, making his handsome, fair face stand out even more. He looked at my parents and beamed. "Do you remember me, teachers?" My parents were startled at first, then broke into delighted smiles. Jules, weren't you abroad? Why are you back?" The man smiled and explained, "My research project finished, so I thought I'd come home for a vacation." My mother pushed me forward. "Jules, do you remember Vivienne? You two used to play together all the time as kids." The man's smile deepened. He leaned closer to me, his voice low. "Young Vive, remember me?" I blinked, smiling slightly. "Of course, I remember." "Young Jules, Julian Ashford, my childhood playmate. Back when we lived in the old lane, we were neighbors. At school, we were desk mates. His parents were busy with business and often forgot to pick him up. My parents, both elementary school teachers who believed all children were lovely and tender, would bring him home with me. Eating, playing, going to and from school. We were always together. Quite a few kids teased me, calling me his destined bride-to-be. Julian beat them up fiercely for it. That afternoon, I put ointment on his injured hand. I whispered that fighting them wasn't worth it. But Julian flicked my forehead. I wasn't fighting for them, I was fighting for you. I froze. He looked at me, sighed, and gently rubbed the spot he had just flicked, though his touch had been light. When he spoke again, his voice was young but gentle. Young Vive, you're a girl. People shouldn't gossip about you. But I'm here, so don't be afraid. But later, he moved abroad with his parents. We kept in touch at first, sharing stories about our lives over the phone. But somewhere along the line, contact ceased. Until now, meeting again. Chapter 9. Over the past few years, my exercise routine had lagged, and I couldn't keep up with my parents' brisk pace. Towards the end of the trail, everyone else had moved ahead, leaving only Julian beside me. I didn't speak. He didn't disturb the silence, just walked quietly, observing. Vivienne, this is for you. It was a plum blossom branch. Dewdrops clung to the petals, making them look even more delicate. I had no idea when Julian had picked it. I asked softly, why the sudden flower? Julian smiled. No reason, really. Just wanted to wish you smooth sailing in life. I paused, looking up at him. I suddenly realized the boy from my memories had grown into a tall, straight young man, like a pine tree. The sunlight seemed to favor him, filtering through the leaves onto his figure, casting a soft halo around him. The corners of his eyes curved slightly with a gentle, affectionate smile. So handsome it was hard to look away. I accepted the flower, smiling softly. Thank you. Just then the sun rose. Golden rays spilled down, brilliant and grand. Mom waved at us, calling out, Jules, let's take a picture together. We walked over, smiling. Click, the shutter sounded. Time froze in that moment. In the photo, my face held a relaxed smile. Ahead of me was the path. Beside me were family and friends. And behind me, the radiant sunlight. From now on, my life was starting anew. Chapter 10. After that encounter, I realized Julian's family still owned their old house in the lane. We became neighbors again. With time on my hands, we often went hiking or had drinks together. He never asked how I'd been these past years, and I didn't volunteer the information. Until one day, returning from an art exhibition, I spotted a familiar car at the entrance of the lane. Taking a couple of steps closer. Sure enough, I saw Sebastian Croft. He was leaning against the car, brow furrowed, the ground at his feet littered with extinguished cigarette butts. Seeing me, he quickly stubbed out his cigarette and walked towards me. But then he saw Julian beside me and his steps faltered. He called out to me, Vivienne, come here. But I just gave him a blank look, turned, and started walking past him. Sebastian froze for a moment. He'd never expected such coldness from me. The words he'd intended to say caught in his throat, unable to escape. I had intended to just walk away. But noticing the curious glances from many onlookers, I stopped in front of Sebastian and said coolly, Can I help you? Sebastian's eyes lit up, but before he could speak, a car blocked in the narrow lane started honking impatiently. I said, If there's nothing else, please leave. Your car is blocking the lane, making it inconvenient for everyone. My tone was distant, polite, like speaking to a stranger. Sebastian's expression changed, a hint of frustration in his eyes. Vivienne, it's been so long, how are you still angry? What do I have to do for you to come back to me? I've really missed you during this time. Without you around, the house feels terrifyingly empty. Saying this, he moved closer, reaching for my hand. I pulled away. Even now, he didn't understand. He still thought I was just sulking. That if he just lowered his head and coaxed me a little, I would soften and go back to him, just like every other time we'd broken up over the past 7 years. But no. This time, I wouldn't turn back. Tired of Sebastian's persistence, I led him to a secluded spot. Turning back to face the man before me, I said softly, Sebastian Croft, the Croft family wants you to make an arranged marriage, and you ask me to be your mistress, thinking it's perfectly reasonable. Then what if my family also needs me to get married? Would you be willing to be my lover? Sebastian froze, his face darkened. You wouldn't. Why? You get married, I get married. That would be fair, wouldn't it? Chapter 11. In the deserted alleyway, my questioning voice echoed. Sebastian's face grew paler by the second. He looked at me, then glanced towards Julian waiting at the lane entrance. A crack slowly appeared in his usually confident gaze. He had misunderstood, but I didn't want to explain anymore, nor did I need to explain to him. When I spoke again, my voice held a tinge of self-mockery. Sebastian Croft, from the very beginning, you never saw us as equals, did you? You're from a wealthy family. You need an arranged marriage to maintain your business. I'm just from a modest background, unable to help your career, but suitable as a mistress. You always said you liked me, but deep down, you looked down on me. You asked if I regretted it. I truly don't. I sighed softly, a hint of wistfulness in my eyes. After all, we were truly in love once. I don't want to use this ugly ending to condemn the past version of myself who chose to be with you. We were too young then, both thinking love was eternal, forgetting that people's hearts change. The person I loved was the Sebastian who sang love songs loudly on the university field to woo me. The Sebastian who would rather give up everything to love me. The Sebastian who strived to climb higher for the freedom to marry whom he chose. Not the Sebastian standing before me now, ready to abandon me for ambition. Perhaps, from his perspective, his choice wasn't wrong, but I didn't like it anymore, so I don't regret it. Maybe Mom was right. Sebastian really was my trial of love. It was unfortunate that I spent my best 7 years entangled in this trial. But fortunately, my life is longer than 7 years. I allow myself to be sad, upset, heartbroken, but I absolutely cannot stay stuck in place. I have ambition, my ambition won't let me stop. So, Sebastian Croft, we are really over. As the words fell, I smiled softly, just like old times. No, it's not like that. But Sebastian seemed shattered. He cried out, his fists clenched so tightly they trembled, yet his eyes were fiercely red, as if tears were about to fall any second. Vivienne Holloway, I don't want it to end with you. But watching him, my heart felt nothing. I even took a step back to avoid getting hurt if he lost control, even though I knew he wouldn't. In that moment, I knew for sure, I truly didn't love him anymore, because all his emotions now just felt like a nuisance. I was unmoved, a detached observer. Then I turned and walked away, brushing past him. Sebastian raised his hand, wanting to grab me, but ultimately did nothing. Nearing the corner, I glanced back. Sebastian still stood at the lane entrance, stubbornly watching me. His back was slightly stooped, looking vulnerable and pitiful. He opened his mouth, finally asked, Vivienne, was I really wrong? I didn't answer, and didn't look back again, and that itself was my answer. Chapter 12. The walk home was short, but we both unconsciously slowed our steps. I originally wanted Julian to go back first. I wanted to sit for a while, feel the breeze, but he sat down silently beside me. He didn't ask. I didn't want to talk. Until the stars lit up the night sky, and the cool wind dried my unshed tears. Julian handed me a tissue, his voice gentle, almost tentative. Young Vive, did he bully you? I paused. The question sounded so familiar. Mom had asked me the same thing. At this point, I had nothing left to hide, so I sighed softly, a bitter smile on my face. We were together for 7 years. He's getting married next year. He asked me to be his mistress. It sounds ridiculous saying it out loud. Sometimes I wonder if maybe I'm just not the marrying type. Otherwise, why would Sebastian, after 7 years together, never have thought about marrying me? Julian froze, then stood up, crouching in front of me. Looking at my red-rimmed eyes, he seemed to want to say something but ended up just cursing under his breath. What a bastard. Then he added, a blind bastard at that. His features were refined, and he smiled often, looking like a gentle scholar when quiet. This indignant expression seemed out of place, yet quite endearing. I couldn't help but chuckle, nodding in agreement. Yeah, blind, seeing me smile. His anger subsided, and he smiled faintly too. Are you still going back to the industry? I nodded. Of course. My ambition won't let me stay put. My love life was a mess. Sebastian wanted to destroy my career to force me back to him, but he underestimated me. I've always been the type to keep hitting a wall until it breaks, never turning back. Even if I ended up bruised and bloody, I wouldn't admit defeat. And I certainly wouldn't stop moving forward. Julian looked at me for a long time, then stood up and offered me his hand. He said, that's good. He said the young Vive he knew was always this resilient. Finally, he said, then I wish you smooth sailing from here on out. The wind chimed the bell hanging on the window. Ding-dong, ding-a-ling, clear and pleasant. I looked up at him, beaming. Here's to us. Chapter 13. One sunset a month later. The sun was glorious that day. The afterglow brilliant. Julian Ashford proposed to me, very suddenly. He knelt on one knee, holding out a diamond ring. His voice trembled as he confessed his feelings. Vivienne, I know this is all very sudden, but it's a decision I've made after thinking about it thousands of times. Of course, I'm not pressuring you to be with me. I just wanted to tell you this way that you're not some unloved little girl. You're certainly not unsuitable for marriage. It's just that others are blind and don't see how wonderful Vivienne is. They don't deserve you. My heart leaped. I suddenly remembered what I'd said last month. Maybe I'm just not good marriage material. It was just an offhand complaint. But here and now, he was giving me his answer. He was telling me I was better than anyone. He said, Vivienne Holloway, don't feel insecure. He said he liked me, that he had never forgotten me. He even told me the reason he came back wasn't for a vacation, but because he heard Sebastian and I broke up. He dropped his research and rushed back. I just felt you might need comfort at this time. Looking at it now, I underestimated Vivienne. Vivienne managed to pull through on her own. He sounded a little shy saying this, yet also proud. I couldn't help but laugh. But as I laughed, I started crying. I had fantasized countless times about being proposed to, perhaps grandly, perhaps ceremoniously, but in the end, it was so simple. So moving. My parents were nearby, watching me with tearful smiles. They both loved me. So they wouldn't force me into any decision. And so I accepted Julian's ring. In that moment, it wasn't the shackle of marriage, but a precious gift. A token of a young man's heart. Wiping away the last tear, I said softly, I think I can give this some serious thought. Chapter 14. Half a month later, I received a call from Big L. She informed me I was nominated for Best Actress at the film festival. I needed to attend. I arrived early. A familiar makeup artist quietly shared some gossip with me, the most eye-catching of which involved Sebastian and Maya. I heard the Croft family officially announce the alliance with the Daltons, but Sebastian actually refused. There was a huge fight a few days ago. Is Mr. Croft really planning to marry Maya Miller? Maya's been incredibly popular lately, snatching resources from so many people. Mr. Croft actually lets her get away with it. Isn't he afraid of backlash one day? She paused here, sighing, Vivienne, you really escaped a bad situation. I always felt someone like Sebastian Croft isn't our kind of people. I heard his parents had an arranged marriage too. Recently, his father's illegitimate son showed up, apparently around the same age as Sebastian. That kind of family, it's not something we can handle. I opened my eyes. The reflection in the mirror showed a flawlessly made-up face, bright lips, pearly teeth. A slight curve of the lips made me look even more radiant. Not far away stood a figure. Familiar, cold. Dark circles under his eyes, looking utterly exhausted. Maya Miller clung to his arm beside him, smiling sweetly, vividly. But he only looked at me through the mirror. I looked away first, scoffing softly. Yeah, I can't handle it, so I didn't want him anymore. You can enter the venue now. Pulling back the curtain, I gathered my skirt and walked into the auditorium. Then I turned back, took the ring out of my bag, thought for a moment, then slipped it onto my ring finger. Chapter 15. In the end, the Best Actress award slipped through my fingers again. It belonged to Maya Miller. Maya stood on stage, giving her acceptance speech. The spotlight shone brightly on her. In that moment, she seemed like the ultimate winner. 2 years into her career, she had won the award I'd chased for 10 years, secured endorsements from various luxury brands, and had the Croft heir backing her. How could she not be a winner? I sighed, exchanging a resigned look with the director, then stood up and left the ceremony early. Walking backstage, I unexpectedly ran into Sebastian again. He was on the phone, furious. How could Maya Miller win Best Actress? Didn't I tell you not to interfere with today's awards? Someone on the other end said something. Sebastian hung up silently, then stormed into the banquet area, grabbed Maya's wrist, and dragged her backstage. Maya cried out in pain. Sebastian just stared at her coldly, his voice harsh. Did you do this? Maya froze, quickly trying to defend herself. It wasn't me, this award was rightfully mine. Anyway, Vivienne Holloway's acting is mediocre. How could she possibly deserve? But the next second, Sebastian's hand clamped fiercely around her neck, his tone vicious. Maya Miller, I don't want to hear you speak ill of Vivienne Holloway ever again. You're not worthy. Vivienne spent 10 years in this industry. The awards she's won are too numerous for you to count. I forced those endorsements to drop her, and they were extremely reluctant to sign you. But back then, without me, those same brands were chasing after her, desperate to sign her. Her popularity, her talent you'll never catch up in your entire life. What makes you think you have the right to judge her? Hearing this, I froze. I never knew Sebastian held such a high opinion of me in his heart. But back then, in front of everyone, he was the one who insulted me as his lover, who declared my acting mediocre. He was always so hypocritical. I let out a short, derisive laugh, then silently turned and left the chaotic scene. At the exit, I was blocked by reporters who had been waiting. Some offered sympathy, some were clearly enjoying the drama, and some, naturally, tried to stir things up. Miss Holloway, do you think your loss of the Best Actress award is related to Mr. Croft? Do you regret breaking up with him now? Facing the cameras, I laughed softly, revealing the diamond ring on my hand. I'm getting married soon. As the words fell, the man standing not far away lost his composure, his eyes reddening instantly. He stared at me, his face pale with shock. He strode towards me, but Maya grabbed his arm. I watched, then moved past the crowd. Left the banquet. Sitting in the agency car, Big L looked at me, wanting to say something but hesitating. I didn't feel like explaining. Just then, my phone rang. Answering it, I heard a familiar voice. Vivienne, I heard you're getting married. Looks like he was watching the live stream. Otherwise, the news wouldn't have traveled so fast. I smiled. Yes, to whom? His voice held a mix of hope and caution. I remained silent for a long time, so long that only the sound of our soft breathing filled the air. I said slowly, "It might be you." As the words left my mouth, Julian gasped on the other end. I have to come back, I absolutely have to come back, but the next second, an angry roar interrupted. Get back here, you rascal, you've already used up 3 years' worth of vacation time this year. It was his mentor. Listening to the commotion on the other end of the line, I subconsciously relaxed the tension I had been holding onto for so long. It was good. This way, it was good. Chapter 16. The last time I saw Sebastian Croft was on set. By then, Maya Miller had likely angered Sebastian, causing him to withdraw his support. And that signal was enough for those whose resources she had previously snatched to retaliate with doubled fury. The backlash had finally come. But I had no time to care about other situations. I was busy comforting Julian, who couldn't return, telling him to focus on his research project. Busy shooting my new film and commercials. Oh, right. Director Langley had approached me again. After that incident where Sebastian publicly discredited my acting, which displeased Mr. Langley, I still went for the audition. I passed smoothly. Just as Sebastian had said, with 10 years in the entertainment industry, my acting skills and abilities were undeniable. Mr. Langley apologized for underestimating me before. I shook my head, indicating I didn't mind. As I was leaving, he added, "Actually, although Mr. Croft recommended Maya Miller, he never actually let her audition. Later, he told me he would only invest in this film if you starred in it. But I think, even without him, when other investors learned you were the female lead, they probably wouldn't have refused funding either. After all, your acting is truly impressive." My heart skipped a beat, unaware of this backstory, but it didn't matter anymore. In the end, I just smiled. Thank you. Chapter 17. Leaving the set, it was already dawn, the sky hazy. I realized it had started snowing again. Another winter. It seemed I had a connection with snow. I met Sebastian during the first snow, and we broke up during the first snow 7 years later. Perhaps that moment foreshadowed the end of our story. A cold conclusion. Covering up all the past beauty, I stood quietly at the entrance, waiting for my car. Just then, a trembling voice came from behind. Vivienne Holloway. Turning around, it was Sebastian. He stood beside me, silent for a long time before finally speaking slowly. I've thought a lot during this time. I realized I was truly wrong. I paused, turning to look at him. Only then did I notice how haggard he looked. Dark circles under his eyes, bloodshot eyes, unshaven stubble, utterly disheveled. He even smelled faintly of alcohol. I subtly distanced myself. Sebastian noticed, his face paled, but he gave a bitter smile. When you were with me, you never wanted anything material from me. I used to think you couldn't leave me, otherwise why would you always soften whenever I coaxed you after a breakup? I forgot that you came back because you loved me, but I trampled all over your sincere feelings. His voice broke at the end. He said, Vivienne, I'm sorry. He also said, if we could start over, I wouldn't let you down. Saying this, his eyes held a glimmer of hope. But I had to shatter this paper-thin illusion myself. If we could start over, Sebastian Croft, when you meet me, please pretend you don't know me. The expression on his face instantly went blank, but tears fell first. Dropping onto the ground, instantly freezing, I looked at him but smiled. I don't want to be entangled with you anymore. A few simple words, yet they seemed to crush Sebastian. He stared with red-rimmed eyes but nodded. Okay. As I got into the car, Sebastian remained standing there, watching me, just like when I told him we were breaking up, but neither time did I ever look back. Chapter 18. Getting out of the car, standing downstairs. I suddenly noticed a familiar figure standing not far away. My heart leaped violently and I ran towards him, stride after stride. He caught me, and just then the sun rose. Warm sunlight dispersed the chill of the first snow, driving away the gloom of the night. He said, Vivienne, I'm back. I gazed into the distance. The sunlight was brilliant. The first snow was falling, but I thought I wouldn't be cold in the winters to come because I had caught the rising sun. End of story.